She called our marriage a friendship. I stopped trying, set boundaries. She begged to reconnect. Then her phone lit up, and a hidden message broke my trust. I sat across from Sarah in the dimly lit therapy office in downtown Portland, Oregon. The rain tapped softly against the window, a constant rhythm that matched the pounding in my chest. Our therapist, Dr. Ellis, leaned forward, her notepad resting on her knee. Sarah's hands fidgeted in her lap, her eyes fixed on the floor. I could feel the weight of the moment before she even spoke. 3 years of distance, of cold silences, of sleeping in the same bed but feeling 1,000 miles apart, had led us here. I braced myself, hoping for a breakthrough, but nothing prepared me for what came next. "James," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I don't love you like that anymore." My stomach dropped. The air felt thick, suffocating. She looked up, her green eyes glistening with tears. "You're my best friend, not my husband. I only love you, platonically." Each word hit like a punch. Best friend? After 15 years of marriage, 2 kids, and a life built together in this rainy city? I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Dr. Ellis nodded gently, urging her to continue. Sarah's voice cracked. "I haven't wanted to be intimate with you for years. It's not you. It's just me." I stared at her, my mind racing. 3 years. 3 years of her pulling away, of excuses, of me begging for closeness only to be met with a wall. I thought of our 2 kids, Emma and Noah, now 12 and 14, asleep in our modest house in the suburbs. I'd been pouring everything into being a dad, thinking it was enough to hold us together. But now, sitting in that sterile office, I felt like a fool. Sarah's words echoed in my head. Best friend. It stung worse than any argument we'd ever had. That night, back at home, things got worse. Sarah came home late, her breath sharp with the smell of wine. She stumbled into the living room, her cheeks flushed. "James, please," she slurred, reaching for me. "I need you tonight." My heart raced, a flicker of hope igniting. Maybe this was a chance to reconnect. Against my better judgment, I gave in. Her hands were desperate, her kisses frantic, but it felt wrong, like a performance. The next morning, she woke up, her face pale. "I feel disgusting," she said, avoiding my eyes. "I don't sleep with friends, James. That's my rule." My chest tightened. Friends. There it was again. I wanted to scream, to shake her, to ask what the hell I'd done to deserve this. I didn't scream. Instead, I shut down. I nodded, grabbed my coffee, and walked out to the porch, the damp Portland air chilling my skin. I couldn't look at her. The woman I'd loved since we were 14, who I'd built a life with through poverty and sleepless nights, didn't want me. Not as a husband, not as a lover, just as a co-parent, a roommate, someone to split the bills with. I thought of our early days, sneaking kisses behind the bleachers at Jefferson High, dreaming of a future together. Now that future felt like a lie. In the days that followed, I replayed her words over and over. Platonic, disgusting, best friend. I tried to talk to her, to understand why. "What's wrong with me, Sarah?" I asked one evening, my voice raw. We were in the kitchen, the kids upstairs doing homework. She sighed, pushing her blonde hair behind her ear. "I don't know, James. I love you, but it's not the same. I'm just disconnected." She talked about the kids, how they were her focus, how my role as a dad was meaningful. But it wasn't enough. I needed more than validation for changing diapers and paying the mortgage. I felt trapped, angry, invisible. Every night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how we'd gotten here. I thought about the sacrifices we'd made moving to Portland for a fresh start, scraping by in a tiny apartment when Emma was born, giving up our social lives to raise our kids. I thought Sarah and I were a team, but now I wasn't so sure. Her resentment, her distance, her refusal to even try it was tearing me apart. I didn't know what to do, but I knew I couldn't keep living like this, stuck in a marriage that felt more like a business arrangement than a partnership. By the end of the week, I was done begging, done chasing, done hoping she'd wake up one day and see me as her husband again. I needed to take control, to find a way to survive this. That's when I stumbled across something online, a strategy called the 180. It was about focusing on yourself, setting boundaries, and letting go of trying to fix someone else. It sounded cold, harsh even, but I was desperate. If Sarah wanted a roommate, fine, I'd give her one, but I wasn't going to let her break me. The rain hadn't stopped in Portland for days. It mirrored the storm inside me as I sat in our living room, staring at the old photos on the mantel. Sarah and I, barely teenagers, grinning at a school dance at Jefferson High. Another of us holding Emma, our newborn, in a cramped apartment on Hawthorne Avenue. We were so young, so broke, but so in love, or so I thought. Now, at 35, I was questioning everything. How did we go from sneaking kisses by the Willamette River to this a marriage where my wife saw me as a roommate? I replayed our last therapy session with Dr. Ellis. Sarah's words cut deep. She resented me. Not for anything specific, she claimed, just a vague bitterness that had built up over years. She mentioned the kids, Emma and Noah, and how I spent more time with them than her. It didn't make sense. I was being a dad, stepping up when she seemed to pull away. But the more I thought about it, the more I saw the cracks in our story. We'd been together since we were 14, married at 19, parents by 20. Life hit us hard, fast. Back then, Portland was our escape. We moved here from a small town in Oregon, chasing dreams of a better life. But reality was brutal. We lived paycheck to paycheck, sharing a one-bedroom apartment with roaches and a leaky ceiling. Sarah worked nights at a diner on Burnside Street. I took odd jobs, construction, delivery, anything to keep us afloat. When Emma was born, then Noah 2 years later, our world shrank. No more late-night walks, no more friends, just diapers, bills, and exhaustion. We survived, but at a cost. In therapy, Sarah opened up more. I feel like I lost myself, she said, her voice trembling. Dr. Ellis pushed her to explain, to look beyond being a mom. Sarah hesitated, then admitted she missed her friends, her old self. We gave up everything for the kids, she said. No social life, no hobbies, nothing. I nodded, remembering how we stopped going to concerts at the Crystal Ballroom, how our friends drifted away. We were so focused on surviving, we forgot how to live. I tried to understand her resentment. Is it because I got you pregnant so young? I asked, my voice tight. We were in Dr. Ellis's office again, the rain still drumming outside. Sarah shook her head. No, James, it takes two, but we missed out on so much. Her eyes were distant, like she was seeing a life that never happened. She didn't regret the kids, she was clear about that, but she felt trapped. I don't know who I am anymore, she whispered. I wanted to reach for her, to fix it, but I didn't know how. The therapist asked Sarah to think selfishly, to focus on herself, not just the kids. It was a breakthrough. Sarah admitted she felt isolated, like she'd lost her spark. I remembered her as the girl who loved painting, who'd drag me to art fairs in the Pearl District. That girl was gone, buried under years of motherhood and struggle. I tried to encourage her. You need friends, Sarah. Time for you. She nodded but looked away. She'd always brushed off my suggestions to reconnect with old friends or join a book club. The kids were her excuse, her shield. I started to see the pattern. Everything came back to Emma and Noah. Don't get me wrong, I love our kids. They're the best part of us. But Sarah used them as a wall, a reason to avoid facing herself, or us. I thought about our early years, how we'd laugh through the chaos, how she'd curl up next to me after a long day. Now, she barely looked at me. The more I tried to pull her close, the further she slipped away. That night, alone in our bedroom, I felt the weight of it all. We'd built a life in Portland, but it was a life of survival, not joy. I thought of the diner where Sarah used to work, the smell of coffee and grease on her clothes when she'd come home. I thought of the nights I'd stay up, rocking Emma to sleep so Sarah could rest. We were a team then, or so I believed. But somewhere along the way, we stopped fighting for each other. Sarah's resentment wasn't just about me, it was about the life we didn't get to live. I wasn't blameless either. I'd thrown myself into being a dad, maybe too much. I'd stopped asking Sarah about her day, her dreams. I assumed she was fine because she never said otherwise. But she wasn't fine. Neither was I. The truth was, we'd both lost something, our connection, our spark. I wanted to fix it, to find the Sarah I fell in love with. But her words, best friend, platonic, disgusting, kept echoing in my head. I couldn't keep begging for her love. I needed to do something different, something drastic. That's when I decided the 180 wasn't just an idea, it was my only way forward. I stood in our Portland kitchen, the smell of coffee lingering as I stared at the sink full of dishes. Sarah was upstairs, probably helping Emma with homework. The house was quiet, but my mind was screaming. Her words from therapy, best friend, platonic, disgusting, kept looping in my head. I'd spent years trying to fix us, chasing her affection, only to be pushed away. I was done begging, done pleading. That's when I decided to try the 180. I'd read about it online, a way to focus on myself, set boundaries, and stop trying to save someone who didn't want saving. It felt cold, but I had nothing left to lose. The next morning, I started. I kept my interactions with Sarah short, transactional. I'm taking Noah to soccer, I said, grabbing my keys. No warmth, no lingering. She looked confused, but didn't say anything. I stopped asking about her day, stopped offering to help with her errands. For years, I'd been her rock, fixing her car, handling bills, picking up her slack. Now, I was done. If she wanted a roommate, I'd give her one. I focused on me going to the gym, reading at Powell's books, even grabbing a beer with an old coworker at a bar on Alberta Street. A few days in, Sarah noticed. Can you grab my dry cleaning? She asked, her tone casual, like always. I looked at her, calm but firm. No, Sarah, you've got this. Her eyes widened, like I'd slapped her. What's with you? She snapped. I shrugged. You said we're friends. Friends don't do each other's chores. She stormed off, muttering about me being petty. My heart ached. I loved her. Always would. But I couldn't keep pouring myself into someone who saw me as a convenience. The real test came a week later. I sent Sarah a text, cold and to the point. We're splitting bills 50-50 from now on. I've listed our expenses. Let me know your half. I attached a spreadsheet: rent, utilities, groceries, all divided down the middle. When she got home, her face was red, her voice shaking. This is ridiculous, James. Out of nowhere? I leaned against the counter, steady. Friends split things evenly, Sarah. That's how it works. She stared at me, speechless, then slammed her phone down and walked away. For the first time, I saw her rattled. She wasn't used to me pushing back. It hurt to be so distant. Every night, I'd lie in bed, inches from her, but it felt like an ocean between us. I wanted to reach out, to hold her, to tell her I'd do anything to fix us, but I couldn't. Not after she'd made it clear I was just a co-parent, a roommate. The 180 was my shield, protecting me from more rejection. I kept at it, short answers, no favors, no chasing. I started running along the Willamette River, the cold air clearing my head. I joined a book club at Juno Beach, reconnecting with people my age. I was building a life outside of her, and it felt good, even if it didn't fill the hole in my chest. Sarah's reaction grew stronger. One night, she broke down, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you so cold, James? Something's wrong with you." Her voice cracked, and my heart twisted. I wanted to comfort her, but I held firm. "This is the dynamic you wanted," I said, my voice steady. "I'm just respecting it." She cried harder, saying she was stressed, overwhelmed. I didn't budge. "I'm taking care of myself now, Sarah, like you do." She looked at me like I'd betrayed her, but I saw something else in her eyes, fear. Maybe she was starting to realize what she was losing. The turning point came when I refused to help her fix her laptop. "Figure it out," I said, walking past her to the garage. She yelled after me, calling me selfish. I turned, calm but sharp. "You're in charge of your own life now. So am I." She didn't speak to me for the rest of the day. It was brutal, but I felt a strange sense of power. For the first time in years, I wasn't begging for her attention. I was standing my ground. By the end of the week, the tension was thick. Sarah was visibly stressed, snapping at little things, like when Noah left his shoes in the hall. She'd always been the calm one, but now she was unraveling. Part of me felt guilty, like I was punishing her, but I wasn't. I was saving myself. I told her one night, clear and direct, "I love you, Sarah, but I won't live like this forever. I need a partner, not a roommate." Her eyes filled with tears, but she didn't argue. I walked away, my chest heavy, but my resolve stronger. The 180 was working. She was starting to see me differently, but I wasn't sure if it was enough or if I was just delaying the inevitable. The Portland rain had finally stopped, leaving a crisp spring chill in the air. Sarah texted me on a Saturday morning, her message simple but heavy. "Can we grab coffee? I need to talk." My stomach nodded. For weeks, I'd kept up the 180, staying distant, focusing on myself. Now, she wanted to talk? I wasn't sure if this was a step forward or a trap for more heartbreak, but I agreed. We dropped Emma and Noah off with my sister and headed to a cozy coffee shop on Division Street, its windows fogged from the warmth inside. We sat at a corner table, the smell of espresso thick around us. Sarah clutched her mug, her knuckles white. "James," she started, her voice soft, "I've been thinking a lot." I braced myself, expecting another lecture about being just friends. Instead, she looked me in the eyes, her face raw with emotion. "I feel like I'm losing you, and I think it's my fault." My heart skipped. This was new. Sarah, admitting fault? I stayed quiet, letting her speak. "I've been so caught up in being a mom," she said, her voice breaking. "I forgot how to be me, or your wife." She talked about our years in Portland, how raising Emma and Noah consumed her. "I love our kids, but I lost my friends, my hobbies. I lost us." Her words hit hard. I saw the girl who used to paint murals in our old apartment, now buried under years of exhaustion. "When you started pulling away," she continued, "it scared me. I realized I've been taking you for granted." I swallowed hard, my throat tight. "Sarah, I've been trying for years, begging for you to see me as more than a co-parent." My voice was steady, but my hands shook under the table. "You called me your friend, said being with me felt disgusting. I can't live like that." Her eyes filled with tears, and she reached for my hand. I didn't pull away, but I didn't squeeze back either. "I know," she whispered. "I was wrong. I'm sorry." The apology caught me off guard. Sarah wasn't one to admit mistakes. She went on, her voice raw. "I've been numb, James, for years. I didn't know how to tell you I felt trapped, not by you, but by life." She talked about therapy, how Dr. Ellis helped her see she'd been hiding behind the kids. "I'm starting to find myself again," she said, "but I don't want to do it without you." My chest ached. I wanted to believe her, but I'd been burned before. I took a deep breath, choosing my words carefully. "Sarah, I love you, always will, but I need a partner, not a roommate." I leaned forward, my voice firm. "I've been working on myself, and I'll keep doing it, but we need a plan, something real, to fix this." Her eyes widened, but she nodded. I laid it out. We'd both focus on our own happiness, not rely on the other to fix us. We'd make lists of what we need emotionally, physically, everything, and share them. No pressure, just honesty. "We're a team," I said, "but only if we both show up. If not, I can't stay in this half-marriage." I told her about my fear that we'd keep drifting until divorce was the only option. "I don't want that," I said, my voice cracking, "but I won't beg anymore." Sarah wiped her eyes, nodding. "I don't want that either," she said. "I want to try, James, really try." We set a deadline, Memorial Day 2025, 6 months to work on ourselves, to rebuild. If we weren't happy by then, we'd face the truth together or apart. It felt like a risk, but also a relief. For the first time in years, we were being honest. Sarah reached for my hand again, and this time, I held it. The warmth of her skin felt like a spark, small but real. As we left the coffee shop, the Portland sky was clear, the sun breaking through. I didn't know if we'd make it, but for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. 9 weeks had passed since our coffee shop talk in Portland. The city was blooming with spring, cherry blossoms lining the streets near our house. I'd stuck to our plan, focusing on myself while keeping the door open for Sarah. The 180 method was behind me now. I'd used it to shake things up, to make her see I wasn't just a roommate, and it worked. Sarah was different, more present, more alive, but I was cautious, still guarding my heart after years of rejection. Sarah started therapy with a new intensity. She'd been prescribed antidepressants, and I could see the change. Her laughter, once so rare, echoed through our home again. One evening, I caught her humming while cooking dinner, a sound I hadn't heard since our early days in that cramped Hawthorne apartment. She was making time for herself herself too, joining a painting class at the community center, reconnecting with old friends over drinks downtown. Seeing her rediscover herself felt like glimpsing the girl I fell in love with at Jefferson High. We were trying, both of us. I kept up my routines running along the Willamette River, meeting my book club at Juno Beach. But I also made small gestures for Sarah, ones that came from wanting her to feel loved, not from obligation. I'd leave her favorite coffee on the counter, write her a note saying I was proud of her. She noticed. One night, she slipped her hand into mine while we watched a movie with Emma and Noah. Her touch was soft, deliberate, not the desperate grasp of that drunken night months ago. It felt real. We started exploring intimacy again, not just physical, but emotional. Sarah began sharing more her fears, her dreams, things she'd kept locked away. One night, over takeout from a food cart on Alberta Street, she admitted, "I was scared I'd lost you, James. I didn't realize how much I needed you until you pulled away." My chest tightened. I wanted to believe her, but the memory of her calling me disgusting still stung. "I'm here," I said, my voice steady. "But we both have to keep showing up." We made our lists of needs, like we'd agreed. Mine was simple. I needed a partner who saw me as more than a co-parent, who wanted me mind, body, soul. Sarah's list was longer, rawer. She needed space to be herself, not just a mom. She needed me to listen, not fix. We shared them over coffee. No judgment, just honesty. It wasn't a checklist to fight over. It was a map to understand each other. For the first time, I felt like we were a team again. But it wasn't perfect. Some days, Sarah was distant, lost in her thoughts. I'd catch her staring out the window, her face unreadable. I wondered if she was still wrestling with that resentment, that feeling of being trapped. I didn't push her. Instead, I kept working on me going to therapy alone, lifting weights at the gym, even signing up for a coding class to chase an old dream. If this didn't work, I needed to know I'd be okay on my own. As Memorial Day 2025 approached, the deadline we'd set loomed large. I wasn't sure where we'd land. Sarah was trying hard. She'd initiated date nights, small ones, like walks through Laurelhurst Park or grabbing ice cream at Salt and Straw. Her smile was brighter, her touch warmer, but I couldn't shake the fear that it might not last. What if she slipped back into seeing me as just a friend? What if I was setting myself up for another fall? Still, I felt hope. Not the blind kind I'd clung to for years, but something grounded, cautious. We were talking more, laughing more. Last week, Sarah hugged me in the kitchen, her arms tight around me, and whispered, "I'm glad you didn't give up on us." My heart swelled, but I stayed guarded. I loved her, always would, but I meant what I'd said. I wouldn't stay in a half marriage. For now, we were moving forward, together. The future was uncertain, but I was at peace with my effort. Whatever happened, I'd know I left no stone unturned.